Wild time.
Several years ago, California shut down the red abalone fishery. It's not due to overfishing. It was due to a wasting disease that strongly affected red abalone. Before that, we used to be able to hunt red abalone. It's not much of a hunting snails, but the trick was it's sort of like mushroom hunting. It's like Easter egg hunting in the ocean, and you're looking for a trophy abalone. Okay, and a trophy abalone is anything over a 10, with an 11 being like a 1 in 100,000 and a 12 being a 1 in a million.
Wait, what are these numbers?
Wow.
Is this how many?
Inches.
Inches. Okay.
Inches of the abalone from one end to the other. And I had, this only takes place north of the Golden Gate, so way in Northern California. And I had a couple 10s to my name. I'd never got a bigger one. And so I met up with my two buddies, the same guys I go mushroom hunting with. And I was like, let's go for trophy abalone. Okay, now the thing about trophy abalone hunting is the way to get a trophy abalone is you have to find an area that has all the right conditions that nobody else can get to. Okay, because it's too rough, it's too brutal, it's too far, whatever it is.
Like mushroom hunting, kind of, right?
Just like mushroom hunting. It's the same fucking thing.
Well, it's like everything that you do. Looking for extinct animals, got to go to the densest part of the jungle that no one's been to.
You got
Come
it.
on,
Yeah.
Neil, in your moon boots.
Yeah.
Inside joke.
And so anyway, we go to Fort Bragg. I don't know if anybody listening or you guys have ever been to Fort Bragg. Beautiful area, Northern California. Stormy, cold. It looks like the Oregon coast, right? You got the big rock spires and the redwoods that come right up to the ocean. It's gnarly. And we go to Fort Bragg, and my buddies Brian and Carter, they're like, all right, let's get these kayaks. We're going to do this kayak run, okay? And we're going to leave from the harbor, and we're going to run further than almost any motorboat will go. And that's where we'll do our abalone diving, this certain rock in the certain cave, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great, let's do it. So we get in this kayak, and it's about a 4-hour kayak each way to go to this abalone spot, okay? And we get in, and it's a very nice day in Fort Bragg, meaning it's 6-foot swells at like a 12-second period, which is just a shit ton of energy. 6 feet of water moving through every 12 seconds. And we get in these kayaks. And they both have their own kayaks, okay? They both have nice, like, Malibu 2s, the long, very stable kayaks. I go to the kayak shop, and this is long before I knew a thing about kayaks. And I tell the guy, I'm like, hey, listen, we're going to do a long kayak. And he's like, oh, well, you want a fast kayak, right? You want a small, fast kayak. And I'm like, great, I'll take that one. Well, lo and behold, what I didn't know is the smaller the kayak, the more it rocks and the more that it tips and sways back and forth.
So is it long and narrow?
It's short and narrow. It's like a speed kayak. Yeah, and they had basically long, wide ones.
Can I ask a question?
And this is what they looked like.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Thank you for that photo.
They were single person, right? So they're pretty damn small.
Yeah, they're all single person kayaks.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Did anyone wear a life jacket?
Of course not. That's shenanigans.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Instead, I'll paint the picture. Instead, we decide we're gonna suit up. Okay, we're going to put on our wetsuits, throw all our dive gear down by our feet, and kayak for 4 hours in our thick neoprene to get to this area to dive in 7mm wetsuits. That's all fine. These guys do that kind of thing a lot, and I'm a tough guy, or so I think. So we all put on our wetsuits. It's not hot out or anything, and we start kayaking. And these guys are like, they're behind me a little bit, and I'm like, haha, I got the speedy kayak, like idiots. And I'm rocking, I'm cruising. And the kayak just starts swaying as I'm paddling, and it's just swaying. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm not feeling good. I start sweating, and I'm like, whew, it's hot in this wetsuit.
It's doing this kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's the worst.
And it's listing the whole time, like side to side, and then the nose and bow are fishtailing the whole time. I mean, it's terrible. But I'm way ahead of them, right? I'm like a quarter mile ahead of these guys. And we're like, I don't know, a couple hours into the paddle, and I'm like, whew. Man, it's getting hot out here. I'm not feeling so good. And I'm thinking it's the neoprene. Well, we see the end is in sight. We have walkies. So I'm like, guys, I see the spot. It's coming up on my GPS, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, great. You're way ahead of us. Get there and dive. And I rock up and I put in the little anchor. We like tie to the kelp to get diving. It's in the middle of the red triangle, meaning the highest great white shark attack density in the world. We're completely by ourselves, middle of nowhere. Yeah. I'm rocking around.
Definitely worth it for that 11-inch abalone. Definitely worth it.
For a snail. And my buddies pull up, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, whew, not feeling good. And my buddy Brian describes it the best. I pull up, he pulls up, and I'm already back in the kayak because I got there and I got in the water immediately. I've got this abalone, this massive 11-inch trophy ab right here.
Wow.
Nice.
Which I was incredibly proud of. I got in, I dove down. It was the first big ab I saw in a crack. I popped it. I got straight back in the kayak. That was it, one and done. And I'm like, they pull up, and I'm like, hey guys, I don't feel so good. And I just puke all over myself. And it's just literally, it's all down the front of my wetsuit. I've got this abalone on my lap. My dive gear is back. And they're like, dude, we just got here. And I'm like, I'm going back. And literally for
that's a good seasickness impression. That is, you just nailed that.
Dude, it gets so much worse. For 2 hours on my own. So they stay to dive and get their trophies. And a funny story, neither of them got one as big. But they stay and dive for a couple hours. Neither of them are seasick. And I just start kayaking back by myself. And for 2 hours, I'm throwing up. It's just dribbling down the front of my beard and onto my chest and crying the whole time. I'm like, I'm so sick.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I want to video
like
this so
crying
bad.
because there's nobody to see me, so I can be as big of a baby as I like. And I'm literally, there are tears running down my cheek, puke all in my lap, filling the kayak all over my chest,
my
and
God.
a snail by my feet. And I'm literally just crying and puking for 2 hours by myself. I finally get back to the
glorious.
harbor, and I just I'm so exhausted and so been so sick for so long. I just roll out of the kayak into like a foot deep water and let the waves literally wash me and the kayak up onto the rocks. And I just lay there getting like washed on the rocks, going
clinging to his snail,
holding my snail. And that was how I got my trophy abalone.
The only way that story is better is if when you were like 30 feet from the shore, you got hit sideways by a wave and the abalone went into the ocean.
I know, totally. And it was free. I know, totally.
So you paddled through shark-infested waters?
Oh yeah, big time. It's not. I mean, a lot of people did. It's not like I'm the only one that ever did it up there. But yeah, it's pretty scary. The zone that we dove, true story, and this might narrow it in if there's any abalone divers listening, but I won't give away too much. The zone that we dove is the exact area that 2 years prior that abalone diver was decapitated by a white shark. The only time in history a white shark has bitten somebody's head off.
So you're like, let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah,
I heard a guy got his
diving
head
there.
bitten.
But nobody's diving there because of that story. So we're like, that's where the big snails are.